Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is or you've got a bit lost. Welcome, everyone. I'm Chatty. Welcome to my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, where I will be chatting away madly about all the books I have read in June. So I usually do my wrap-ups in kind of like two parts because it's quicker because I talk a lot. So it's a lot of books to get through. But I just didn't get around to sort of doing sort of like a part one and part two, and June was just a bit of a weird month in general. I've basically managed to read what I've read because of audiobooks. Yeah, June I don't know why. June was just a bit strange. But I've read books and I enjoyed the books in general. So this is a nice little chat about the books I enjoyed and a massive rant about a book I didn't enjoy. So get ready. First of all, I'm just going to briefly mention the books I am still working on. So I'm working my way through the Pickwick Papers by Charles Dickens. I have neglected this one recently. I was doing pretty well in May. I nearly got back on track, but I haven't really picked it up in June. So it's still kind of going, and I need to kind of get myself back on track with this because I am enjoying sort of talking about it in Nicole from Dusty Booksniffers Discord. This is part of her serialized series book club where she has classics, and she divides them kind of up into when they would have been published, like in segments. So you're kind of reading it in chunks, so you're waiting for the next installment. So I want to try and keep doing that properly because I think that's really I think it's such a fun idea to kind of like be reading it in the way that they would have read it when it first came out. So and I am finding this actually really funny, which I was not expecting to. So I really need to get back on track with this. So hopefully over the next few months I will do. Two buddy reads. I was pretty terrible with buddy. I found it quite tricky with buddy reads this month. So I just sorry for everyone in the chat. I feel like I haven't really fully like done the buddy reads well. Like I said, June's just been a really weird month for reading. But I am currently still rereading Good Omens by Neil Gaiman. It's glorious. When I do pick this book up and I am reading, I'm having such a wonderful time. It's like coming home. I had a wonderful time when I read it the first time, but it's just so warm, and I'd forgotten how funny it was, how much it made me laugh, how much I loved all the quirks. And yeah, it's just beautiful, and I'm really enjoying this copy where you get beautiful illustrations by Paul Kidby. So I'm enjoying this one, but I'm going to allow myself to keep enjoying it rather than rushing it and feeling like I've got to get through it. So it will be continued. It will be continued, and I will continue to enjoy it. The same with This Vicious Grace. Oh, so Good Omens I am reading on MJ's Discord with a chat there. So there are some other booktubers joining us on that. And I know Matt from Bask in the Story did it really well. He read it all. He's done a video. It's up. I'll link it here so you can see his thoughts on that. I still haven't watched it yet because I wanted to finish my reread before I watched it. Yeah, so it was lovely. It was more of like a general hype and enjoyment rather than a buddy read because I didn't really manage to read that much. But it will happen. The other buddy read is This Vicious Grace by Emily Thende, which is a YA fantasy and part of the kind of fairy loot buddy reads that I'm doing with Cloe from Phantom of the Pages and Vadania from Vadania Silverscribe. We broke this one up into like 5 sections and would read a section each. We'd read a section and then chat about that section. And that was kind of going well until Vadania's kind of work overtook her. My June was weird. So we kind of put it on pause and then read a bit more sort of like in July and sort of like later on. Me and Vadania are still working on this, but Cloe has finished it. But we are enjoying this so much. At the moment, it's kind of up there for me with Belladonna. I was not expecting to enjoy this as much as I am, so that's really exciting. And I've paused it at a point where I'm like, I feel I'm just going to need to just read the rest in one go. Like, I'm not even going to read up to like the next stopping point. I'm just going to need to read to the end. So I've just left it because it's like stuff's going to start going down in that book. Another book I have that I'm reading, and it's going to be reading slowly in my own time at my own pace, is Black on Both Sides, A Radical History of Trans Identity. So this is a very intellectual book, much more so than I was expecting. I'm hoping it was just kind of, so I've just read the introduction so far, and I'm not a book tabber, but I have tabbed in here that I'm not going to look at it right now because I'm not fully going into this book yet. But I have like tabbed in here. There were like things that I felt are really important from it. But because it's kind of pulling together lots of different ideas and it's done in a very academically worded way, my brain really needed to concentrate. I'm hoping it will be less academic and more accessible for me in the actual kind of like chapters of it. But I do really enjoy what it's exploring. So I will continue to read, but I very much need to be reading when I'm in an awake mode and able to focus. Okay, now I can go through all the books that I have actually read. And I've got 2 that were carryovers from May. So I didn't read all of these. I think I'd read about half in May, half in June. So the first one of these is Malala Yousafzai's We Are Displaced. My Journey and Stories from Refugee Girls Around the World. This book was really lovely, really highlighting what it's like to be a refugee, and just the whole kind of concept of someone who is displaced, that doesn't feel they are somewhere permanent where they belong. They've literally kind of had everything they know whipped away from them, and then coming to a country where you're supposed to be grateful that you're safe, and it could be worse because you could be living in all this war zone and terror and all of this, but you are still mourning the fact you had to leave your home, that your home is been destroyed, that where you loved and all the normal things you had have gone. And also on top of that, there is hostility in these places, and I think everyone should read this book and understand the absolute crap that people have to deal with, and just the strength of these girls in here to be striving, and their dreams and what they want and their belief that things can be better is just astounding. And it was really, really easy to read. So it starts off by kind of, the focus is very much on Malala's feelings of displaced, and she makes it very clear. She has another book called I Am Malala, where it kind of focuses more on her story and kind of everything that went on. This is just very much focused on her memories of home and the times that she kind of had to leave her home in Pakistan and go to other parts and then come back again. And then when she finally did completely leave because she was shot at, but she didn't stop fighting for what she believed in. And you hear about her father as well, who's a big inspiration for her, and just the belief in girls' education. And then there are some fantastic stories. I'm trying to remember how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 other stories in here of different girls who have all experienced kind of displacement in different ways. There is one story where it is someone who wanted to support refugees and wanted to kind of like be their kind of family from being away from family and kind of like help them integrate. And then there's another story from someone who grew up as second generation and then went back to see where her family came from and why they moved. So there were some different stories in here as well. It's from all over the world, and these are people that Malala spoke to, and stories that she wanted to kind of put in here that she felt like really like told something different. So it was really powerful. It was very impactful, and it was very easy to read in a way that like it was very accessible. Like you could immediately kind of like see what they were struggling with, and see the difficulties they faced and the strength that they powered through on. And it does kind of tell you kind of where they are now, what they're currently working on, what they're doing. And these are just some absolutely amazing women that are going on to do such fantastic things for our world. and human society. So it was, yeah, it was a really brilliant read. We then have the Night Circus by Erin Morgensten. So this was another buddy read book. So this was from Dusty Booksliffer Nicole's Discord, where she has all the people on a wheel and you have a genre of book, and if your wheel lands on your name, you pick the book for that month within your genre. And this was the fantasy book pick, and I absolutely was going to write down the name and I've totally forgotten, so I'm so sorry, lovey, that I've totally forgotten your name. But anyway, I'm really pleased you picked it, because I'd been wanting to read the Night Circus for a while. I really loved Erin Morgensten's I've totally forgotten the name of it. Has completely gone. It's the one with the key and the bee and the sword, and it's got a library in it. It's totally gone from my head. Anyways, that one, which I will put in the description box. I feel so ashamed for Dania, I'm so sorry. It's her favourite book and I recommended it to her. Yeah, anyway, I liked that one. So I wanted to read The Night Circus, and you do have Erin Morgensten's like atmospherical writing. It's very whimsy. It's very kind of about like the vibes and the feelings that it evokes, and kind of the awe and wonder of the kind of the magical world, rather than going through some sort of like big exploration of a plot or a character. There are still plots in here, there are still characters that have arcs, but it's not the main focus of the book. The main focus of this book is kind of like the beauty of the magic, if that makes sense. I did make, it's just tantalizing, the name is just kind of lingering and disappearing. I did make more emotional connections with her second book, with the bee, with the sword, and the key. But so I did make more kind of emotional connections with them, and I really kind of like grew to love those characters. These I liked, but I didn't like fall in love with them. Like I didn't find myself just like falling for them. I enjoyed the story. I thought it was really pretty. I thought I was totally sold with this whole like concept of this magical circus. I think that this book would shine as a piece of live theatre, done in a kind of more of an experimental way, where you literally have the Night Circus and the audience have to follow the story. I've heard of this and always thought it sounded amazing, where audiences follow the play through different rooms. So you'd be in the circus tent and you would follow the story through different rooms. I just think that would be incredible. So if anyone is watching this who is an artistic person who has the means to sell this concept, please go ahead and do it, because that would be awesome. I think that would be incredible to have that. So I did enjoy the story. I'm really pleased I read it. I don't feel it's going to be one that I'm going to read again, just because for me, reading again books is because I want to hang out with these characters, because I see things from the plot that I missed the first time of reading and want to read it with that awareness and kind of appreciate how it all comes together and hang out with characters who are my best friends and kind of relive those emotional moments. I didn't have that with this one. I just enjoyed the atmosphere. I enjoyed the beauty. Like I said, I'm pleased I've read it and have got that kind of context for when people are talking about it, and I can know, oh yes, no, I know what you mean. And I did enjoy it as I was reading it. I especially enjoyed reading it at night time because it adds to all of the vibes. But I didn't love it as much as the one with the key and the bee and the sword. I can't believe I forgot the name. Anyway, but yes, it was a really beautiful, fun, enjoyable, magical time. So thanks for the suggestion. Ooh. I'm now gonna have some tea because it's tea time. My tea is really good temperature today. Blah, blah, blah. Can't talk because I need to drink tea. Okay, the next book I have to talk about is a middle grade. And this is one that I have been highly anticipating for a while because I've heard my mum loving it so much. And this is her book that she has lent me, and it is called The Map of Leaves, and it is by Yarrow Townsend. First of all, my beautiful cover. Who did the art? So this is illustrations by Marie Alice Harrell. I do not know if that is also the cover art. It's always quite tricky. It's always quite tricky to know. It doesn't always say in here. No, it just says illustration by Marie Alice Harrell. So I'm going to say that that was. So here we go. We've got a beautiful map by Marie Alice Harrell. So thank you very much for this. We do love a map in a book. So this is, I would again say, magical realism. So this is, it's not necessarily set in our world. It kind of could be our world, but it's not really anywhere. It is a place that is very similar to our world. The time period is not completely clear. Pretty sure they have cars. I think they have cars, but it's not completely clear like what the time period is. It's like I'm not completely relevant. But the magical part of it is the plants. So we start off with our protagonist, Orla, who is an orphan, and she's living by herself with her horse and plants, and she uses plants. She knows them really well. She grows vegetables. She's self-sufficient, and she also follows her mother's teachings on using plants for medicine. So she's able to prepare the medicines and things. And her mum has written a book which has all of those bits and pieces that she needs in. So it's got all the information in it about these different things. But there is a sickness happening, and the plants are starting to get sick. So she wants to save her plants. She wants to save her garden. You find out more about her mother's death, her life now, how people of the town feel about her, how she feels about them. She's very much a kind of recluse, and I think she's got a lot of unresolved anger and grief, and she just kind of stays away from people. But basically things happen where she ends up having to team up with some other people because they're thrown together, and they need to kind of find the source of this sickness and save kind of what's going on. And it is a really kind of heartwarming story about realizing things about yourself. Like, I think if you're someone that really needs to agree with a character all the time, you might find this a bit difficult. But I think there is enough kind of empathy and understanding that you know where Orla's coming from. She is quite gruff, she is quite abrupt, and she doesn't really like people. And I think as a reader, you want to trust and make friends with the people before she does, very much. So that can sometimes be quite tricky for people to read. But it is a developing story. 3 characters have these different character arcs. They all kind of need to learn to work together. And it is very satisfying about what kind of happens. It's got a lovely kind of environmental feeling to it. And the magical part is that the plants talk. So Orla can understand them. No one else can understand them, but Orla can understand and hear the plants. And that kind of helps her with trying to source her medicine and know that there's danger happening, kind of helps her feel protected. So it's really, really lovely. And I absolutely know why. This just has my mum's name written all over it. It's exactly the kind of story that she enjoys. So I know why she loved it. And if she had not read this, I would be giving this to her going, you absolutely have to read this. This has been written for you. So I'm pleased I got to read it and then agree with her about how wonderful it is. So yes, this was a delight, and I highly recommend if you if it sounds like it would be appealing to you, give it a whirl. Okay, we're gonna hit rant o'clock. Okay, I did have notes to make sure I ranted about everything I wanted to rant about. Right, I've got it. If I can even work out what I was doing. Okay. So this was one of the audiobooks I listened to this month. So in June, I had the audiobook I requested to appear at some point came in, and that was The House of Sky and Breath, which is the second book in the Crescent City series. This is the first book. So I read this as part of my Anyone for Seconds, and I really enjoyed the first book, actually. I was very surprised that I enjoyed it, but actually, once the story got going, eventually, it was fun. It was a fun time. There was lots of happenings. There was a lot of there was a plot line that was kind of like a murder mystery. You also had finding out about more of these characters and kind of how they came together, enjoying the chemistry of them getting to know each other. There's also kind of a political setup and world building and lots of different things going on. There's a history of like a past war. There's what kind of becomes more apparent is there is suppression of people who previously rebelled, and also just humans are treated as second-class citizens. So there's a lot kind of wrong with this world. So it felt very fun to kind of read about it, and all the plot points pulled together, and I appreciated that. I appreciated how the plot kind of made its way together. Didn't agree on everything. There were a few little things I was like, I'm not sure we're doing there, but generally overall, it was a fun time. Now, I knew going in that Sky and Breath was not beloved like House of Earth and Blood was. You had some people who were still raving about it and giving it 5 stars, and hooray for you guys, glad you loved it. But there were also people I know who absolutely slayed this book and were massively disappointed by it. So I went in knowing all of this, going, it's fine, we can just have a good time and not worry about it. Cannot have a good time with this book. This book was so frustrating, just so frustrating. It wasn't meant for me. It was not meant for me. It was meant for mass fans. But even so, mass fans, if you had a wonderful time with this and gave it 5 stars, well, I'm very happy for you. However, I still feel that you've been shortchanged, and this book could have been so much better than what it was. Basically, what it felt like, it's gonna demonstrate. Okay, so it felt like Mass had her characters, like, oh, here's Mr. Teddy, and here is Dove and Snake on the sword. And she was like just like she was playing with them. It's like, oh, anyway, my characters are going to go over here now, and oh, what should we do next? Oh, and now they're going to go over here, and I'm not sure how this is going to go, so let's just abandon this plot point and let's put them over here, and oh, this might be fun. I like it when they get to go and eat pizza together, so let's just have lots of eating pizza. And oh, I like making them go and meet this character, so here they go, here's the pen. They can all go have fun with the pen, because we like the pen's fun. I'm not sure what the pen is doing, but we can just be there, and I feel like we need some drama. Let's have drama. And there's just no thought out plan to this. It was just an absolute mess. Right, there we go. Let's put those away now. It was just like she was just playing with characters and just had no plan. It was just basically like, I'm just going to kind of make the time up, and then, because I know where the end is. This is the end. The end's going to be amazing. The end's going to be epic. It's going to blow everyone's mind. They're going to be like, wow! And they're just going to forget that there was no story up until that point. So, like I said, it was an audiobook, so it was easy in that I didn't have to do a lot of time. It was just kind of there with me, going, surely there'll be a point at some point. Where's the fun gone? Where was why was the other one fun, but this one is just dire? What is happening? So I've had a think, and I have decided that basically what should have happened was someone should have edited the book. They should have gone, right, Sarah, where do you want the story to go? I know you can't wait to get to that ending. It's going to be great. The next book, you're going to have such a fun time. But this book you're writing right now, what's the purpose for this book? What do you want to say? So then let's take that point and let's get the characters to get there purposefully. Which characters shall we focus on? Do you need this character? They're not really doing anything. They're just kind of there, and I'm a bit bored by them. Can we let's put them back into secondary character. They do not need to be main character. Put them back into secondary character, please. Do we need all of them? Why are they doing this? Why does Bryce care about this? What's her motivation? Just because she fucking can. Okay, cool. I don't quite think that's going to work for us, Sarah. So how about we think a little bit more about why she might want to be invested in that plot line. You had an idea over here, back in the land of the dead. That was quite a good idea. That was quite exciting. That could have been emotional. What word is that? That could have been a motivational plot point for Bryce. Maybe that could have pushed her in this direction. So when I finished House of Earth and Blood, you get the acknowledgements. And in the acknowledgements, I read this in my previous video. I'm going to read this out again. Acknowledgements. Noah Wheeler, editor extraordinaire. Noah, how can I even begin to thank you? You transformed this book, House of Earth and Blood here, people, into something I am proud of. Yes, Sarah, be proud of this. challenged me to be a better writer. Well done, Sarah. And worked your ass off at every single stage. You are brilliant, just a joy to work with. I'm so honoured to call you my editor. So, did Noah get House of Sky and Breath? Did Noah go on holiday? Did Noah just go, I can't be asked really, Sarah, they're just going to buy the book anyway, so do you know what, publish it, it's fine. I don't understand what happens, but publishers, this was good enough. The same effort that went into this should have also gone into Sky and Breath, because it clearly didn't. I mean, if this Sky and Breath, if that was like the third or fourth draft, oh my God, what would the first have been like? No. I just don't know what happened. Was it just like, great, free money, the fans will love it. Edit your books, please. Okay, I'm going to go into specifics now because I've done a lot of vagarity because I didn't want to spoil it for anyone. So if you can understand any of my ramblings, well done. I am going to now give you the receipts. I'm going to lay it all out on the line, what I really found frustrating about this book. And I'm checking my watch because I do need to go and pick my kids up from school. And I don't want to be late because I needed to rant about House of Sky and Breath. It's not a good excuse for being late. So, the plot was an absolute mess. It was such a mess. So I'm in spoilers. So we're spoiling stuff. So it starts off, you know, there's Bryce and Hunt, there's some friends. You get kind of an emotional moment of a new Fae character being introduced to drop a bombshell. He's Bryce's fiancé. Autumn King's taking an interest. The Fae are pulling their weight. Here we go. This was interesting because it was just a bit of fun. It just upset the status quo, gave us a bit of tension, some bit of fun times. Great. Suddenly turns out he's a spy and he's going to make them all interested in his rebellion, despite the fact none of them are interested in joining the rebellion. So everyone's kind of immediate reaction to the rebellion is, oh God, the war is horrible. And yes, humans are treated really badly, but we don't want to get in trouble. We have been massively told at the end of the last book, we are watching you. Okay, if you do not toe our line, going down. You know, we've got Victoria, the Wraith, you know, trapped in a box under the sea going mental. You know, a Hunt had his wings pulled out. You know, these people mean business. Their friend was crucified. Stuff will happen. And they don't want to risk their family. Bryce's mortal parents doesn't want to risk that. Not getting involved. We're okay. Also, they do not approve of the rebellion that do blowing up buildings and endangering civilians. So they don't like it. So why do they join in? Because they're trying to find a child? That's not the same. That's not the same thing. Trying to find a child is a missing persons investigation and like a manhunt. It's not espionage. We don't do secret meetups with people. We don't go to secret places. What are you doing? I do not understand the motivation because they're all like, I don't really want to do this. Yet they're doing it. So why? It really did not make, I couldn't get on board with it because I'm like, you're being a moron. What are you doing? And then it turned out the fallout of this, so they go off and do their little like rebellion spy meetups and all of this jazz. The fallout is they nearly get caught several times and they're like, oh my God, they saw us. We're in so much trouble. It's kind of like kids like bunking off school and seeing the teacher. Like it feels like that level of you know, worry because there isn't you don't feel that kind of like threat breathing down the neck. You know, if this was supposed to be a thriller, way off the mark, there was no scaring stuff going on here. And basically the reason is they were like, oh God, we got away with it because we haven't been punished yet. It's like, what? These people will be like following you and waiting to pounce. You're like their little flies in their web. You've seen this web, yeah? You're living in it. You spoke about it last time. You weren't talking to each other because you were aware that things weren't safe. But now all of a sudden you're just like, ja, let's go off and meet some people. And oh, guys, we got away with it. Isn't it amazing? And the reason they got away with it, so this will kind of explain later. Everyone that they thought was like a scary person who saw them doing something actually turned out to be a secret rebel spy. So it wasn't that they just got away with it. They were lucky, highly lucky about circumstances, basically. So they were just stupid and lucky, and it just makes them look really arrogant and idiotic. They just looked like arrogant idiots. And I just cannot root for this found family of people. I can't root for this gang of misfits when they're being so stupid. I just can't do it. And there's no reason for it. It's not like, well, they've got to risk it because otherwise people they love are going to die. No. They are risking the people they love by going and doing all this crazy stuff. And their only motivation is that Bryce wants to find a child. The rest of them don't really care. It's just Bryce. Maybe Water Guy, who begins with a T, whose name I've forgotten because I just really didn't get why we were following him at all. Otherwise, it didn't make any sense at all. And then we've kind of got a werewolf side plot that was very badly handled. It could have been really interesting. There were so many points in here that could have been interesting, but just got lost in ridiculousness. So there was a side plot with Ethan, who is the brother of the beta wolf in Danica's pack, who Bryce possibly was going to have a long-term relationship with. Oh, why was he in love with her? That was so unnecessary. Absolutely unnecessary. There was no reason for that at all. I don't understand why everyone has to be in love with Bryce. It makes no sense. Like, we get that she's a protagonist. Don't need everyone to be in love with her, especially not the kind of kid brother. They had like a kid brother thing going on. It was like big sister, little brother. Why is he in love with her? Just please, can you give us a bit of a platonic relationship in here? Thank you very much. Unnecessary. What would have been more interesting is if we could have had a part of the storyline that was from him. So focus your storylines on kind of what you're wanting to do, because it feels like there is going to be a storyline from this. There's going to be like some sort of missing wolf that's going to come into play. I feel like there is possibly some wolf politics that she kind of wants to do, but hasn't really done anything about that yet. We've only just been told that Sabine is terrible. Danica's mother, Sabine, is terrible, and she's leading the werewolves, but she's doing it so badly. How? What's she doing? What was it like before? What's the politicking going here? What's the friction? What's the tension? I want that. So if there's going to be some kind of like big werewolfy showdown, we need more from the werewolves. At the moment, we're just following Ethan, who's just a little bit on the droopy doopy side. And it's not really enthralling. We need to be living and breathing Ethan's pain. We need his pain about his brother. We need the pain about like him feeling comfortable being in the pack. So we needed to see him being in this pack and having Sabine absolutely hating on Bryce, who he kind of reconnected with, and who basically saved them in the last book. And the old wolf has said, you know, that she's a wolf, she's part of the pack, because we appreciate what she's doing, going and saving all the people, while you're just sat in your asses going, oh, but we can't because the rules are this. So like, give us that interesting point of view. Like, have us living and breathing, have us feeling annoyed, have us seeing Ethan bullied, having him fight, you know, give us all of that. Don't just kind of use it as a, oh, Ethan's in my apartment and oh, he's sort of in love with Bryce. Like, it was just, that wasn't necessary. And it just kind of felt like it lost any kind of tension. Like, it could have been interesting if she'd done it a different way. And then having him wanting to find out more, worrying about his brother's soul. There was kind of links with, so this is the other thing. So part of the plot is Danica from the dead. Danica's gone, but we're still finding out more of her past secrets. So not only was she dealing with this kind of the illegal serum stuff and kind of staging her own, like, we need to deal with this and we need to protect people from this isn't right. As well as dealing with that, she was uncovering werewolf genealogy, found a mate that she didn't tell her best friend about, and, pardon me, and was, wanting to infiltrate secret information bases and getting in contact with rebellions to do that. That just seems a lot for her to be doing in the last few years of her life that nobody knew about. No one? She was just keeping all of this to herself. I can understand in the previous book, it was kind of like, you know, job confidentiality, not wanting to kind of endanger people you care about. But if you're doing a little bit of like, something doesn't feel right about the wolves, I want to kind of find out more about where we came from. That kind of stuff you could definitely have spoken about with your pack. Definitely have spoken about it with your bestie. And definitely if you've got a weird kind of awkward mate relationship situation on, why the hell did she not tell Bryce? That makes no sense. I don't believe it. I don't believe that's the thing, because she would have told her best friend. These are like super best friends. We were sold on how superly bestie friendies they were, especially because Bryce has kind of shared her big secrets with Danica. Like, she knows all about, you know, Faye, who she is, and her powers. That Danica was the only person that knew that. So for Danica to not be telling Bryce important stuff, that doesn't really say friendship to me. So that feels really off, and I don't believe it. And I think there could have been better ways to do this. We don't need Danica in this story. Why did we not have Ethan going and digging up all this stuff about the wolves, being as he's a wolf anyway? That would have been more interesting to have it done in the present. I think we could have also had more of Hypaxia the witch, because she had an interesting point. She is struggling because she wants to kind of take on the ruler, and she's being kind of batted back by kind of the older people around her that want to do things in a different way. So that's a really interesting situation to be in, which would have been a lot of fun to kind of explore. And also, she is someone that has her own thought process. We saw her doing like Medwitch stuff. She could definitely be investigating things, and she knows the deal with the dead. So she could definitely have been doing some digging up around that. So that would have been fun to have kind of had it from those characters. It did not need to be Danica. Okay. Pardon me. So yeah, I just found it annoying that we had all of that. I was then thinking, wouldn't it might have worked better if we had one of the points of view being the missing child. So we get his relationship with his sister, we get kind of the difficulty he's in, we get kind of him being picked up with other people and kind of like what's happening to him, and we could kind of have it where we don't quite know where he is, and it would have just have added more tension and excitement to it. But then I actually thought, well, actually though, what's the point though? Because I don't know what the point of him was, because it just felt like basically that was like a haha, gotcha moment, and it didn't really serve a purpose other than to go, gotcha. It didn't really reveal anything more about Bryce's character. We get that she fights for underdogs. We did not need to see her finding a boy to remind us of that. We didn't need to see anyone getting excited about exploiting magic, because we know these people do that. There wasn't a purpose for moving this story on other than filler. So I don't understand what that purpose was. So I don't actually think he needs a point of view. And what was so ridiculous about that point, apart from it serving no purpose whatsoever, and having us going around in circles, was that it completely undermined Bryce and Hunt's relationship. Because if you're trying to do this to go, look how clever Bryce is, then we would have needed some kind of more hints of that going on. We would have needed some more pulling power, and kind of leading us to that point, and having a more important reason for it to all be secret, other than if you get found, you won't be able to tell anyone anything. And if that's the case, we need more of that danger and threat level, because at the moment it kind of feels like you're just having a jolly time and there is no danger and threat. There doesn't feel like there's a level of danger and threat oppressing you at this point. But protecting everyone would have been better than going, I just don't think you would respect human life as much. What the hell is that? Why are you with this person then, if that's what you think of them? What an awful thing to think of someone. And just hiding stuff, and they never dealt with it. And she was just mad at him. Just mad at him. I'm just mad at you. Just mad at you. And then it's like, oh, I'm sorry, and let's have sex. Like, what was that? That was terrible relationshiping right there. Blech. Ugh. So yeah, just totally pointless. What was interesting was the ghost bit. So when they went to go and find out, they went back to kind of like the ghost area. I can't remember what that's called. And And then they found out the reveal that actually there's no happy underworld. You live there for a bit until people forget about you, and then your energy is fed back into the system and you're powering the city. So like your essence is actually like making things work. And it's like a massive lie. So that felt really like a what moment. And they were annoyed about it for a little bit. And then they forgot about it to go and find this child and then to start trying to infiltrate rebellion. I'm like, I think kind of like the fate of everyone's souls is pretty important if you found out about that. And it's like they forgot to be mad after a while. It's like, no, this is your motivation. This is your motivation to do something. So this could provide them, if you wanted them to join hands with the rebels and kind of work with them whilst not really agreeing with them, this was the perfect excuse. So using this to be a reason to want to infiltrate government buildings and to try and find out more about how many people know this, who's in control, is there a way of switching this, can we save everyone's soul? And joining with the rebel forces in order to like sneak into places or to kind of have some kind of monetary power to be able to get things moving would have been a motivation. It would have given them a reason to be risking everything for something rather than just going, fuck it, let's do what we like because we can. Still can't cope with that. There were just so many lost opportunities. Like we had this kind of really cool like Fury moments where Fury would kind of like talking about her and Juniper together and just kind of like still a little bit of tension between her and Bryce, and she's just a really intriguing character. It might have been fun to have got her on board and have kind of her pulling out bits and pieces, but she was just a very secondary character that was disappeared, and I don't know why. Who else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, like the angels and fays. This was so weird. So it felt like there was a bit of a threat of fae. It felt like they were a big player and they had the threat and they had like a power. The same with the angels, especially kind of like the rule of the city. This book, Bryce and Hunt are just pissing around. There is no kind of feeling that there's any consequence to what they're doing. Like they can just do whatever the hell they like and get away with it. There was really good opportunities here to be like, right, Bryce, you have kind of put yourself under the power of the fae and we're going to make you do stuff. That would have had some tension. That would have had, some sort of fight happening. We would have got to see sort of like more clashes between the kind of like different factions. Hunt having to do his police work. Barely did any police work. This could have been really interesting. I thought we were going to get some, like being in the barracks, kind of like really awkward times. But we just got just some snide comments and like glares and just remembering how much people tortured each other in the past. Like there was nothing present. It was all about the past. And it was almost like, wolf in sheep in wolf's clothing. It felt very much like they were all sheep in wolf's clothing because they were supposedly dangerous, but nothing happened. Like there was no fairy pulling power. It's like, hey, Faye, get in your place. That didn't happen. It was threatened, but it just didn't happen. So it's like, well, is it actually a threat? I don't feel scared of the Fae anymore. And I don't feel scared of the angels. Like, I felt there needed to be more. I think Celine had a chance to be quite sinister. Like, is she nice? Is she not nice? I think that could have been played with more to give us more tension. And it was just missing. It just wasn't there. She was just like, I want to be your friend. And then, oh, Hunt, why didn't you show up to work today? Oh, Bryce. Hunt, you really need to start taking this seriously or I'm going to get cross soon. It just was not, it was not good. It was not good. And the other thing that really annoyed me was I enjoyed the kind of the mystics in the water. That was really eerie. That was really cool. Please check with your trans audience about what you want from the character that was neither male or female and think about the wording because I'm not sure about that. Other thing, Ethan was so insistent on getting the girl out because 1, she was a wolf, 2, she was an alpha. Got her out, left the other 2 submerged in the pool to be continuously tortured. Well done, Ethan. What a hero. Okay, so werewolves can't be subject to that, but everyone else, I mean, you're on your own, good luck to you guys, but we can't let wolfits do that. Not only a wolf, can't let an alpha wolf. What if she was a mega wolf? what if she was a little kind of puppy, you know, but she's an alpha. Oh my God, it's like people who think, well, we have to rescue royalty, but the rest of you can all die. I thought you were all better than that. I thought you were supposed to be rebelling against this kind of mentality. And there you are, shoving it in our faces. Not a good look. So we get to the ending, and I think the idea was interesting. I liked the idea. I thought that was cool. I was very excited for Bryce to go and see the demons, who I still don't quite understand their deal. But hey ho, I was like, sure, go to the demons, that'll be fun. And that's not what happened. We then have mass Cosmere plans. Which for me isn't exciting because I don't really care for that world and that series. So I don't really care. So it's just going to be them. They're just going to be exchanging fun jokes about their different guys. And they're just going to be like, oh, look at me shooting my bow. Well, this is how I shoot my gun. And, oh my goodness, and I love your hair. It's just going to be like fun times in Feyland. Whereas I'm like, we have an actual situation here with people in danger and all kinds of like soul end of the world problems going on that would have been better suited if we actually went to, you know, hell and got on with it and stayed in that world. But that's me. I'm not a mass fan. I just feel no. So ultimately, I will not be continuing with the series. The House of Flame and Shadow, I think, is due out. I'm going to be listening to other people's reviews. I'm going to be hearing what people think, but I won't be reading it. I'm intrigued to know what actually happens with it, but not enough to kind of put myself through hours of listening to highly disappointing drivel. And we're done. There's the rant. On a lighter note, I also read Mr. Nobody's Eyes by Michael Morpurgo, which is a middle grade historical fiction set just after World War II, I think. Or is it during World War II? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So this was a book that I had to read because I lost in my game. I did not get to read on Yeka, and this was a book I didn't really feel like reading at the time. But actually, I'm really pleased that I did read it because I did really enjoy it. I thought it was going to possibly kind of be up there with like my favourite Michael Morpurgo's. So my favourite one is Long Way Down, which is about a child in who goes to lots of different foster homes and ends up on a farm, and also Warhorse. It dropped short of that because the ending didn't quite pull it all together in the way I wanted it to. I think there were grown-ups in here that didn't really think about sitting down and listening to their child, and there were grown-ups in here that there was bullying and that wasn't explored. Maybe it was very realistic, but I felt like I wanted more consequences. I wanted more things dealt with at the end, and I didn't get that. So I felt a little bit disappointed. But overall, I really enjoyed this story. We have a protagonist who has a change in family situation. His mum has remarried, and there are different rules for him. He doesn't feel like he fits in. Doesn't feel like he fits in at school, and befriends a man who has a chimpanzee who works in the circus, and he develops a friendship with the chimpanzee, and he then finds him abandoned and scared. So it is during World War II because there's an air raid. There we go. So he tries to kind of look after him, and he's kind of like all of the love and things that he's missing he kind of gives to this chimpanzee, but then realizes that he is going to be in trouble if they're found, and he's not enjoying his life and he just wants to run away. So it's kind of like his story. I've got Harry. So it's kind of like Harry's story of sort of like trying to find out where he fits in, managing new family life. But there is a lot, I get very annoyed at the grown-ups in here, and there is a lot of unfinished grown-upping, I think. So I did enjoy it. I did really enjoy it. I just felt slightly dissatisfied by the end, and it's just because I really enjoyed it and just wanted certain things with the characters. But it made me feel a lot. I felt very connected to Harry. I really loved Harry. I really loved the chimpanzee. I kind of enjoyed his travels and his journeys and people he met on the way, and kind of where the story kind of went. but I just wanted more from the resolution. And I am going to stop there, so I will be back to talk about the last 3 books, because I really do have to go pick up my children. So it is going to be in 2 parts. It's going to be in 2 parts. It's just the way it is. So if you want to know about Murder on the Safari Star, an audiobook called Parenting Hell, and Legends and Lattes, then feel free to watch my next video, which will be coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to give me all of your thoughts and opinions in the chat, because you know I really enjoy a chat, and I will be getting around to those comments. Apologies for what I haven't done so far. I keep saying it, but I do really enjoy reading them, and I promise I will answer them. Sorry. I'm sorry, I'm a very bad booktuber. But happy reading, everyone, and I will be back to chat about my other books soon. Bye bye.